Leo's shriek pierced the silence like a rusty nail on a chalkboard. I fumbled for the bedside lamp, the harsh light chasing away the comforting shadows that danced on the walls. There he was, my 8-year-old, a tangled mess of sheets at the foot of the bed, eyes wide and glassy with terror. "Nightmares again, champ?" I asked, forcing a smile to calm him. My own heart hammered a frantic rhythm against my ribs. These night terrors were becoming a nightly occurrence. "It was there again, Dad," he stammered, voice barely above a whisper. He pointed a trembling finger at the space beneath the bed. "There's nothing there, Leo," I said, grabbing my flashlight. I aimed the beam under the bed, revealing only dust bunnies and a rogue Lego brick that looked suspiciously like a missing spaceship thruster. "See?" I said, crouching down. "No monsters, just your missing Captain Rex." He inched closer, still peering into the darkness, but it sounded creepy, like claws scratching, he said nervously. "Just the floorboards settling." "Come on, climb back in. Sir Slasher is here to protect you," I reassured him, patting the mattress. He grabbed the stuffed dragon, a birthday gift he dubbed his personal monster repellent. For a while, the dragon did the trick, but lately, even Sir Slasher seemed powerless against the terrors lurking beneath the bed. The following nights blurred into a cycle of fear and fitful sleep. Leo would wake up screaming, his little body slick with sweat, babbling about clawed hands and whispers that promised nightmares. My sleep was just as fragmented, haunted by the echo of his fear and the ever-present creaking of the floorboards beneath his bed. One afternoon, while Leo was at a playdate, I decided to tackle his room. Armed with a vacuum cleaner, I launched my assault. Dust bunnies scattered like frightened mice as I wrestled furniture and unearthed forgotten toys. Flipping on the TV for background noise as I vacuumed, a news report flickered across the screen. "Authorities still searching for escaped convict. William Carter, last seen wearing a blue uniform." The words washed over me momentarily, then faded into the background hum of the news. Finally, I reached the bed. The monstrosity hadn't seen a proper cleaning since, well, ever, probably. Heaving it aside, I caught sight of a shadowed corner hidden against the baseboard. A neglected, dusty nook whispered secrets in the dim light. Curiosity, a persistent itch I couldn't ignore, snagged my attention. Crawling on the floor, I reached behind the baseboard, fingers brushing against something rough and uneven. A loose floorboard? Bingo. My heart kicked into a higher gear as I pried it open with a satisfying groan. A sliver of darkness yawned beneath, cool and unsettling. This wasn't just some forgotten corner. It was a hidden compartment. The air hung heavy with the smell of old dust and something else, something metallic. My hand delved into the darkness, encountering a rough fabric. I pulled it out, a tattered scrap of blue denim. The image from the news report flickered across my mind. A violent prison escapee, last seen wearing a blue uniform. The memory jolted me. Had I just dismissed it as background noise while cleaning? A cold dread gripped me. Was Leo's fear fueled by overactive imagination, or something far more sinister? Fear tangled with a fierce protectiveness. I needed to call the cops. But could I explain a loose floorboard and a scrap of blue fabric without sounding like a paranoid single dad? My phone felt heavy in my hand. Maybe I should just check it out myself. After all, what's the worst that could happen? A low, rhythmic groan from beneath the floorboard answered my unspoken question. My breath hitched in my throat. It wasn't the settling of aged wood. It was something deliberate, something alive. The decision hung heavy in the air, thick with the smell of dust and dread. Investigate the source of the sound, or call the cops and risk them laughing me off the phone? My hand hovered over the call button, then slowly lowered. Time to face whatever was lurking under Leo's bed. Grabbing a dusty flashlight from the junk drawer, I held my breath and aimed the beam into the darkness. Relief, sharp and unexpected, flooded my system. The space beneath the floorboards was empty, just dust motes, dancing in the weak beam of the flashlight. With a shaky breath, I pushed myself back up, the floorboards groaning faintly in protest. Grabbing a hammer and nails from the toolbox, I secured the loose board with more force than necessary. Each blow echoed in the silence, a desperate attempt to banish the memory and whatever lurked beneath. Looking at the clock, I saw Leo would be back from his playdate any minute. No point in scaring him further with wild stories. I'd clean up the mess, put on a brave face, and pretend everything was normal. The house felt different now. It held its breath, the silence heavy with a secret we both knew. Leo's nightmares escalated, each night a descent into a darker, more vivid world of clawed hands and chilling whispers. My own sleep became fractured, haunted by the rhythmic creak of the floorboards and the echo of Leo's terrified screams. One night, a particularly blood-curdling shriek tore me from a fitful sleep. I scrambled out of bed, heart hammering a frantic tattoo against my ribs, and raced into Leo's room. He sat bolt upright in bed, eyes wide with terror, pointing at the space beneath the bed. "Dad! There!" he screamed, voice laced with raw panic. "It's okay, champ," I gasped, throwing myself onto the bed and shielding him with my body. "Just another bad dream. There's nothing there." But as I spoke, a flicker of movement in the darkness beneath the floorboard froze the blood in my veins. My breath caught in my throat. It couldn't be, could it? A pale, skeletal hand, tipped with ragged black fingernails, clawed its way through the gap in the floorboards. My scream echoed in the room, a primal sound ripped from the depths of my terror. Scrambling back, I fumbled for the lamp on the nightstand, the harsh light momentarily blinding me. When my vision cleared, the space beneath the bed was empty, the floorboards lying still. "Dad? What's wrong?" Leo whimpered, his voice trembling. I stared at the spot where I'd seen the hand, reason battling with the primal fear gnawing at my gut. "Nothing, champ. Just a bad dream. Mine this time." The lie felt heavy on my tongue, but I couldn't terrify him further. Not yet. Dawn found me pacing the living room, phone clutched in my sweaty hand. Sleep was a distant memory, replaced by a cold, chilling dread. Finally, with a shaky breath, I dialed 911. The officers arrived, two young faces radiating skepticism. I recounted the events, my voice cracking as I described the hand. They listened politely, but their eyes held a flicker of something akin to pity. "Sleep deprivation," they suggested gently. "Maybe I should see a doctor." "You don't understand," I pleaded, frustration mixing with the raw fear. "There's something under the bed." I saw it. Their polite detachment chipped away at the fragile hold I had on my sanity. Was I losing it? Was the sleep deprivation playing tricks on my mind? As they left, the lead officer offered a patronizing pat on the shoulder. "Just get some rest, sir. Maybe invest in a nightlight." The weight of their disbelief settled on me like a suffocating fog. Helplessness gnawed at me as I looked at my son, his eyes filled with a fear that mirrored my own. He wasn't just afraid of nightmares anymore. He was afraid of me, afraid of what I might be seeing. The house held its breath, the silence now a malevolent presence. The floorboards creaked in a slow, rhythmic pattern, a chilling counterpoint to the pounding of my own terrified heart. The battle lines were drawn, the enemy unseen but undeniable. I wouldn't let them win. For Leo, I had to fight, even if it meant facing the darkness alone. Frustration and despair gnawed at me. They didn't believe me. Looking at Leo, his eyes wide with a fear I couldn't soothe, a horrifying thought wormed its way into my mind. Maybe they were right. Maybe the fear, the terror, the unseen hand. Maybe it was all in my head. But as I tucked Leo back into bed that night, a low groan echoed from beneath the floorboards, a sound both familiar and chillingly alien. And for the first time, the doubt in my own sanity was overshadowed by a cold, creeping certainty. We weren't alone. relief, fleeting and fragile, shattered with the setting sun. The image of the clawed hand wouldn't fade. It burned behind my eyelids, a constant reminder of the darkness beneath the bed. Sleep was an impossibility. Leo, thankfully, was oblivious. In his sleep, he mumbled something about monsters and scratchy hands. My breath hitched. He'd seen it too. Was I losing my mind? Or was my son haunted by the same unseen terror? Desperate for answers, I waited until Leo was fast asleep, his rhythmic breathing a fragile melody in the oppressive silence. Then, with a pounding heart, I grabbed the hammer again. The floorboard groaned as I pried it open, the sound echoing through the stillness of the room. This time my stomach lurched with something more than dread. A glint of metal caught the beam of my flashlight. Reaching in, I pulled out a tarnished metal object, a badge. The name etched on it sent a fresh wave of terror crashing over me. William Carter. Panic clawed at my throat. I had to call the cops. This time, they had to believe me. The skepticism in the officer's voice on the phone was replaced by a jolt of urgency when I mentioned the badge. Sirens wailed in the distance as they pulled up, a small army this time. Leo, startled awake by the commotion, clung to me, his eyes wide with questions I couldn't answer. The officers, faces grim, ripped up the floorboards, revealing a gaping hole beneath. A flashlight beam shone from the darkness, followed by a gruff voice. "Looks like we found our escapee's hideout." A makeshift tunnel snaked away under the house, a chilling testament to the convict's presence. Empty food wrappers and a threadbare blanket lay scattered on the dirt floor. A drawing, crude but unmistakable, adorned the tunnel wall. The search team swarmed the tunnel, their movements frantic. Evidence confirmed it. William Carter had been here, but the man himself was gone, vanished without a trace. The authorities were baffled. The case remained unsolved. The house suddenly felt suffocating, every creak and groan a sinister whisper. Leaving seemed like the only way to escape the unseen things that lurked in the shadows. It was time to start over, somewhere the nightmares couldn't follow. Selling the house was a nightmare in itself, the truth a terrifying liability. But eventually, we moved, leaving the whispers and the darkness behind. Leo, still young, seemed to adjust. But sometimes, in the quiet of the night, I'd catch him staring into the darkness, a flicker of fear in his eyes. The memory of the clawed hand, of the hidden tunnel, would forever be etched in my mind. The mystery of William Carter, the escaped convict, remained unsolved, and sometimes, in the dead of night, I swear I can still hear the faint, chilling creak of floorboards, a reminder of the unseen horror that lurked beneath the surface.